Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of Adobe Live here in the UK at midday. Ooh, vague rhyme inside of there. My name's Tony Harmer. I'm your host today, and joining me is my friend Sarah Coleman. Hello, Sarah. How are you doing?
Hi Tony, it's really good to see you again.
It's great to see you. Always is. Well, you know the drill here. First of all, I'm going to remind people on YouTube that if they're watching on YouTube, yeah, you can do that. But what you really want to do is get across to be.net/Adobe Live and join in with the community and speak to amazing people like some guy called Tim, Sandrine, Linda, Doris, Jane, Oliver, Sean. They're all lining up in the house right now and eager to see what you're doing today, Sarah. So how's it been going? And then what are you doing today?
How's it been going? All right, it's been good. I've been working on a strange variety of things this year. Things,
Okay.
a mural on a wall, book stuff, some French advertising, a video project that's probably coming out next year. It's been quite strangely varied this year. Um,
Nice.
yeah, looking forward to next year. We've got lots of different things lined up next year that we're going to be doing. So I'm quite looking forward to drawing a line under this year, uh, getting a little Christmas break, and then starting some fresh projects next year.
Nice. You've always got so much on. I mean, I follow your various different. Oh, do you ever sleep, actually? That's a question I need to ask you because
Yeah, you
how do
know
you get the time to do that? Or do you do like
well.
loads of micro naps?
It's funny actually. For the first amount of decades of my life, I really did get by on not much sleep at all, and it suited me. I was a nocturnal baby, but as I've got into my whatever decade, suddenly, almost within the space of a couple of months, I started to need loads more sleep. But what's happening is I'm sleeping till about 3 or 4,
Mhm.
getting up for 2 to 3 hours, having another hour to an hour's sleep, and then getting up. And I get loads done in that little break
Mm.
in the middle of the night. And we did a bit of reading around, and some viewers may know this already, but we discovered that actually, maybe 150 years ago or further back, sort of around the medieval period, particularly, there's evidence that all humans had two sleeps.
Yeah.
And we went to bed with the sunset, we got up with the dawn, and in between, we woke up and we fed the dog, fed the fire, brewed some tea, chatted to a neighbour, and went back to sleep. So I think I've reverted to my medieval form, and I'm now having two sleeps with a little work session in the middle of the night.
There you are. I mean, I'm a big fan of early morning. I used to be a night owl, big fan of early mornings myself. I quite regularly get up at 4:15 and start work around about sort of 4:45, once I've got a coffee and everything like that. And I
Yeah.
find those 2 hours the most productive because no one's going to disturb you.
No, no, that's true, and it's incredibly peaceful at that time. The light
Mm.
is unusual. What I like to do is I'll light a candle rather than put lights on, and the light from a candle is quite soothing. And then, of course, if I'm
Mm.
doing anything at the screen, I've got that light from the screen anyway, so it's quite interesting. I'm finding the whole process interesting. But
What a journey.
yeah, but yes, I do a lot of stuff, but I'm getting a lot better at sleeping now. It's just I still like to spin lots of plates and have lots of projects on the go.
Yeah. Well, I tried to describe you to somebody a few weeks ago, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah,
I said, so she draws and does this stuff, but she does lettering, which is incredible. I said, also, she messes around with tiny Japanese cars.
there
And
is
then
that.
she tries
Yeah,
dragging lorries along
yeah. Oh yeah, of
sometimes.
course. Yeah,
And she
yeah,
does radio, and they're going, which does what? Well, which of the thing? It's just
yeah.
very difficult to describe.
I haven't done any truck pulling for a few months,
No.
but I have just done a big mural in the local gym that I go to. They've just opened a brand new
Oh,
wing called Beast Mode, and it's purely for strongman training. So we're hoping to go there. It's the opening this weekend, and we've put our mural on the wall. So hoping to go there
wow.
this weekend and try a tire flip and all sorts of other things. Try
Mm.
and fail probably, but we'll have a go.
I'm sure you'll be just fine. But actually, Sandrine in the chat saying she reckons she gets about 10 hours worth of work done between 2 and 3 at night.
I can believe that. Yeah,
It's very quiet then. Very,
focused,
very
quiet
quiet.
time, no distractions. Yeah.
Yes. So, what are we doing today, Sarah? I think
What I
we're
fancy
patterning,
doing
aren't we?
today, we're doing some wrapping paper. Designing a
Nice.
wrapping paper um, from scratch, I'm going to be using some very specific influences and taking the wrapping paper through to a repeat pattern that we could send off to a printer. And I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. I'm going to do it the way I was taught at school, but obviously using Photoshop. And we'll see how that goes.
Okay, all right. I'm sure it's going to be excellent. Right, well, in that case, over to you then. Take it away.
Okay, so I'm going to be holding some stuff up on screen in a moment, but I just want to start by showing you the inspiration for the wrapping paper that I'm doing today. I'm going with mid-century vintage Christmas baubles. So on the screen there, we've got a collection of my grandma's 50s and 60s Christmas baubles that I inherited. I inherited a complete tree, ready decorated, that simply had a cover thrown over it. And the whole tree was handed over to me when she died. They said, you can have that. So it literally comes out of the loft, gets put on the shelf, the branches are straightened out, lights are flicked on, and it's ready to go.
No way.
But these baubles, as you can see, they're quite battered, quite old and worn, but they have some very specific shapes and contours which are associated with that particular era, and I love it. Yeah. I also have quite a collection of antique vintage baubles that I've bought from places like flea markets, Etsy, charity shops. And so we've got these ones on the screen. They're actually tiny. They're probably an inch and a bit, perhaps, these ones, all made by hand. So I keep a collection of these baubles. And then the other influence that's coming into the work today is, I'm just going to hold up this book here. I've got this fantastic book called All Wrapped Up, which is a collection of vintage and historical wrapping paper designs. For a time, it was a Bible for sort of retro influences. And in particular today, sort of taking my cue from this beautiful page here of these very gently sort of inked baubles, which look very much like the baubles in my collection. So that's what we're going to go with. So 2016, I did actually make a wrapping paper collection. I designed several different wrapping papers. I've only got these tiny pieces left. I produced about 1,000 sheets of each, and it all sold out. So back in 2016, I did my own wrapping paper collection, which was really nice to do. Made it really strong quality paper that you could really tug around a present without it ripping. None of this cheap stuff that breaks on corners. Snowflakes, ink blots. We had a lace one and a nighttime one, and so on. So producing that was a lot of fun, and then sending it out in packages to people from the shop. So this is how, obviously I work with pixels, but I work with ink a lot as well, as Tony's suggested. I use a lot of stuff on paper and then do a lot of digital with it. So I did a quick time lapse of me making.
There's always a movie. I love that you always bring a movie.
It's slightly out of focus because the rig was focused on my hand, but I didn't realise before I started. So anyway, we'll imagine that that's in focus. So I'm using here a very special collection of pens, which I shall show you in a moment. These are Japanese brush pens with very Japanese colours. It's quite a unique colour palette, really, and very much appropriate for the kind of hallmark sort of mid-century look that we're going for. And then this is what the finished bauble drawing looked like. Here's one I made earlier, shall we say. And what I was interested to try and recreate digitally, so I'm always interested in, as a lot of people are, I think, in how digital means has long been imperceptible from analog means. I wanted to see if I could create this slightly wonky, very non-symmetrical look using Photoshop tools. There's a little close-up here, which is a little bit slower, and you'll see how the ink's going down on the paper from the end of the brush, and you get these scruffy edges, these broken edges, and because it's very watery, the ink it's not opaque. You will see colours building through from one layer to the next, so you can mix colours beautifully using these pens. And again, that's a look I was hoping to investigate and see how see if I can reproduce something pretty close using Photoshop and Kyle's lovely collection of brushes.
So good. Do you know, I'm so glad I've seen this now, because you won't believe me, but on my list of things to do this week is to pop on to your store and buy some more of your Japanese pens. But now you're gonna get a few more quid out of me now, Sarah.
Well, I mean, it's a success already, isn't it? Regardless
lovely.
No, they're lovely. They are absolutely lovely. That's not the best. I've chosen a bewilderingly strange colour combination there, but you can see how the colours layer over each other, and you get those lovely ragged edges, which kind of goes with the look that we want to produce today.
Oh, so good.
Okay.
So good. Going down well in the chat as well, by the way.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, everybody loving this. Baubles, says Sean.
Yeah, oh, of course. Yes. So there we go. So that's that. And then let's move that out of the way. And then if we, these are the pens. My Japanese pen collection is pretty big, but if I hold these up to the camera, you may begin to see straight away that there are sort of quite unusual colours here. I'm going to be building a colour library to sort of match some of the colours in this collection. There's a gel pen there that's gone in. I let my nephew and niece play with the pens, and they never go back the way they should. And so these Japanese brushes are they're called Sai, S-A-I, Japanese colour, and they have these incredibly flexible tips. And so that is our inspiration for today's session. So the first thing I want to do is I have opened a Square document, because I'm pretty sure there are going to be new ways to do this now. But at school, we would start with a square piece of paper, and I've made mine 200 mil across. Yep. And then I've taken the rulers and divided it exactly at 100 mil across and 100 mil down. So we have a dead center area, and we have 4 corners. And this is going to be used to build the template. So I had a look at brushes earlier to save a bit of time, and identified 2 of Kyle's brushes. Kyle's letterers. This one's called Brush Ghost. One of my favourite brushes, actually, but it turned out to be perfect for this way of drawing. So I can straight away, I can put this down, and you can start to see that it's behaving like a brush pen.
Yeah, very much so.
It is a brush, but it's got behaving like a brush pen. And what we can see there is how it's, hopefully that is clear enough. Do say if you need something blowing up a little bit, but you can see the colour starts to build. It isn't a flat colour. I can make that pale, and I can add pressure as well up here to respond to pressure, so we can get the fine points that the brush pens were recreating. I did make a slight modification to this brush as well. I put the texture on and played with the spacing a little bit to give it that ragged edge, because none of what I was just showing you had a clean edge. I want it to look ragged at the edges. I want it to look broken.
Tiny bit of bleed.
Yes. And with the exception of the very round baubles, for which I will need a guide, I'm happy to freehand these because we're not going for something which looks mechanical and symmetrical. So that's the first one. The Brush Ghost brush is really good. And I'm usually quite disciplined with layers, as Tony may remember. I'm going to be working 3 layers. I'm going to have the main bauble colour, which is exactly how I would work in analogue ways. I would have the main bauble down. We've got white paper in the background, of course, we're simulating the white paper. And then another layer, which I'm creating as a multiply layer, so that any colour I put down, just like the pens, will show through. So I've started to build a colour library here based on the actual colour pens. So this Japanese pen here, I've tried to match as best as I can the strange murky green of that pen, and then I can begin to sort of, as if I'm drawing. Some of these colour combinations might not work. We will soon find out. Of course, the advantage of doing this digitally, unlike me drawing them on the paper, is if I put a colour combination down that doesn't work, I can just undo it. I'll delete it. My drawers are littered with sheet after sheet of, oh, that didn't work, which you can always use for something. You know, they get dug out, they can be repurposed for something. But I order about 2,000 sheets of A3 paper a year, and it all gets used somehow. It's almost like, because I know I can use the paper, I get through it. So I'm looking for a purple now to match this particular pen, which is a little bit bluey. Let's see. Looks about right. I'll add that to my library.
Do with a few more options inside the Photoshop color picker, I think, you know, sometimes to, you know, such as seeing complementaries and analogous colors would be nice, I think.
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah. I think if anybody from the Photoshop team is watching, there you go. That's something we'd like. Cheers. Thanks very much. Bye.
I like how you can put your requests in here.
I know. I'm going to message Kyle later, by the way, and let him know about this stream so he can have a
Oh, yes. Okay. I mean, Kyle's been a godsend for years on end now. I mean, even in his sort of pre-Adobe time, what he did with brushes would just revolutionize things for people like me who desperately wanted to digitize the workflow and sort of have more options when it comes to, you know, do I want to work digitally here? Do I want to work analog? Sometimes you need the option depending on a client deadline or how much you think you're going to be asked to tweak something. Yeah. And he was the guy that made the tools, which meant I could work authentically me, if you like. Yeah. You know, I didn't have to sort of pretend anymore that that what I was doing was right. It was, you know, the brushes were the thing that kind of made it look like a piece of my work, and I'm sure there are lots of artists who feel the same way. So I'm just building up this funny little bauble here. We'll have mid layer.
Sandrine in the chat saying she made some brushes from a Japanese food pen once.
Oh, yes.
And have them behave like a real brush pen is a bit of a fiddle. Well, hopefully maybe you've picked up that tip from Sarah. Doing something like changing the spacing can help, adding in a bit of texture as well. And she's also saying it's good we can reverse engineer Kyle's ones. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. Yeah,
I absolutely love that. And he kind of encourages that as well. He encourages playing with his brushes. I think you and I had a session, Tony, where we delved a lot deeper into brushes at that time. And you know, I thought I knew the brush palette well, but even that session, you were showing me things that you can do with brushes that I didn't know about, which is again one of the beautiful things about this session. There's always something to learn. So I'm going to be lazy here. Yeah. And I'm going to pick a nice, let's go for a lovely bright green there, which I'm going to go for. Always a nightmare to print. And I'm going to create this particular bauble with a guide, because although I can perfectly freehand a circle on paper, using a tablet, no chance. I've never been able to do a proper circle freehand. There's something about
it's a hard thing. Yeah,
it is. But give me a sheet of paper and I'll do it in one take. So I'm building up these layers just like a brush pen. Hopefully, just like a brush pen.
I think some of that is that the whole biomechanics of working on paper that you pick up a long time before you come anywhere near a tablet in most cases.
True.
The whole biomechanics of doing that, where you understand the level of control necessary to create a circle, it's very different when you're working on a surface which is not flat to the surface you're working on, or perpendicular to it even.
Yeah.
It's so. But I mean, what you're doing is using a tool. These things are all tools. It's not cheating. It's
No,
using a
no,
tool.
exactly. I mean, we
Yeah,
are way past the point
yeah.
now where I mean, I did live and work through that era
Hmm.
where in interviews, particularly, I'd be asked the question, "Is it cheating?" And that was absolutely bewildering to me,
Yeah.
because it was like being, it's like a racing driver being asked, "Is it cheating because you drive? Surely you want to run the route." Do you know what I mean?
Good analogy.
It was bonkers that
Yeah.
I was asked that sort of thing at the time. And well, actually, what's interesting? Oh, they're so wonky. What I'm finding interesting is some of the nature of that discussion is coming back with talking about artificial intelligence,
Mm.
AI. Some of those kinds of questions about what's real art, what's authentic art, what's there to be admired, and what is cheating. That discussion is being had right now,
It is.
and I find that completely fascinating as well.
Mm.
I've had a play with the DALL-E artificial intelligence engine, which is
Yep.
beyond fascinating. It really is. At the moment, the results that I've been having vary from scary to hilarious and everything in between. But then,
Have you ingested any, or have you allowed it to ingest any of your work?
I actually went to the relevant site and clicked yes.
Right.
I thought long and hard about it, actually, and realised that I would be quite curious to be part of that.
Mm.
I still maintain that the best way to deal with the issue is to keep producing fresh work, new work,
Yeah.
producing things of your own that are different. My work's
Yes.
due a revamp. It feels like it's time for trying some new stuff personally right now, and I think that's one of the ways to do it. But also, I kind of very strongly got the sensation that I'm either going to be part of this or I'm not.
Yeah.
And I'd rather quite consciously give my permission than find out one day someone else has done it for me.
Anyway, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I did that via Holly Herndon's website, where you go on and you give permission. You can choose to opt out or not. Do you know the one? Do you know the website?
I do not, but I'm going to look it up after.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was interesting, really, to watch some of those discussions about authenticity or otherwise coming back.
One of my friends, who actually doesn't live too far from you, is a copyright lawyer.
All right.
He well, to be perfectly honest, he's a photographer. That's his profession.
Yeah.
But he was the president of the AOP for a while, and then
okay.
then he started looking after or answering copyright questions, and he ended up going and studying law.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And now he takes on things like, people's work being used in other projects, and at what point does it cease? I mean, technically it's not derivative if you're not, or it is derivative, but it's an infringement if you're using somebody's stuff without attribution.
Yes.
And that's his main problem. It's not saying that using somebody else's work in your work or the style of it or whatever, it's whether or not attribution is given.
Yeah.
That makes it a problem. But he's having, I think that's occupying, haven't spoken to him for a few weeks, but that's occupying most of his time at the moment.
I find it fascinating because, I mean, I find copyright law fascinating anyway. But it's still this notion that I still believe, regardless of how technologically bewildering things get, there's nothing to replace dialogue. There's nothing to replace someone getting in touch with an artist and saying, I love this piece, I always have, I want to use it in this piece that I'm making. I want to ask.
Yeah,
Because
that's the best
as far
way.
as I'm concerned, I'm more than likely to say, come on then, let's see what happens. But if you don't ask me, it's rude.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
I mean, you've followed my escapades with copyright infringement. You'll have seen those over and over and over again. The same pieces of work being turned into horrible jewelry or cheap key rings.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly hard to keep on top of. And when I write to the people to say where they've gone wrong, I don't start out with a telling off. I'll say, you just needed to ask me.
Yeah.
Oh, and they'll often say, well, I didn't realize we could do that. And I didn't realize I could get in touch. So it helps them learn.
It does.
Instead of just tearing them a new one.
to quote a great phrase. Quick question from Sandra. Oh, Sandrine, by the way, who's contributing quite a lot into the chat today.
Hi, Sandrine.
Saying that using a ruler, she had using a ruler to make straight lines is cheating remark in art school.
No,
hilarious.
Really?
That's hilarious. Well, when I was there, we had to use a ruler because we had to learn how to rule straight lines with a brush. So we'd spend like a whole day ruling with an angled ruler. So you'd hold the ruler at an angle and then bring the ferrule along the brush to draw straight lines. But there you go. Hey, crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's cheating and what isn't really.
Sandrine's also saying, would you restrict yourself with just a handful of colours due to printing constraints, or can you go completely wild with the amount? I guess these aren't being printed as solids, right? So you could do pretty much whatever works within the CMYK space. Yeah.
No, they would be to hold up again the real wrapping paper that was printed. This little scrap here. This was just traditional CMYK printing.
Yep.
So there were no restrictions whatsoever. If I was designing for screen printing or any of the, some of the little printers that I've got here, the hand printers, then there's, yes, I would be thinking carefully about a very limited palette there.
Yeah. Because Flexo used
to go crazy. So
yeah, Flexo used to be really limited, flexography, but now these days it's not. These days you can pretty much do whatever you want in that process.
Yeah. Well, here's where I tell you that I don't know what flexography is, and you can enlighten me.
It's just another printing process. It used to be most commonly used on flexible materials.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with the name, incidentally. So if you were doing a run of carrier bags and whatever, you'd be more likely to do those on flexography. So those sort of things. But it's just another process. But I say just another process, quite involved. I've only ever been to one flexography printers, and that was in Derbyshire, and that was it was a long time ago. And weirdly, bumped into someone I was at college with called Helen. She worked there.
It's often the way it goes.
It's just weird. Why are you here or work here?
Went to the first gig we've been to in months. The other last week, went to see Played in Birmingham.
Okay.
Which, as an aside, had some incredible artificially intelligence generated graphics to go with it. And on the way in, I said, do you know what? We haven't been to Birmingham for maybe a year and a half. I said, we are going to bump into someone we know. I just know we are. We were through the door straight away, 3 people there that we knew. And it was just lovely catching up. Yeah, so wherever you go. Anyway.
Amazing.
So I'm doing a very, very quick job here of building up just a little collection of assets on the square. And it doesn't really matter at this point where I put them, because they're all going to get flattened together. And I keep referring to my little reference points here as well, so make sure I'm sort of stylistically staying on track. So I'm just putting them anywhere and making sure we've got plenty of assets to move around. I'm going to put a little bit of tinsel in there as well. Nice.
Hang on, I friend Karina's in the chat. Hi,
Hi,
Karina.
Karina.
Sean's saying there are people using AI to make massive amounts of work and uploading to Adobe Stock. Yeah, I've noticed that too, sure.
Have you seen that? Okay.
Yeah, a lot, yeah.
And can you tell?
Well, I mean, I think that's how people like me, Sean, and other people are seeing it, because there's just something that's just not quite there, but that doesn't mean it won't be shortly.
No.
But I'm just going to try and find you, because I can never remember the name. I can always remember the handle. But somebody I follow on Instagram has started uploading their work, which has a very distinctive style. James White.
Okay.
I can always remember Signal Noise, but not James White. But he's been uploading his stuff to Midjourney, I think.
Right.
And then giving prompts, and the results he's getting back look almost unmistakably like his stuff.
So he gives the prompts, invites people to have a go.
No, he's doing both. He's uploading his stuff and giving his own prompts and getting stuff back that looks frighteningly like, like his actual work. That, although it's different subjects and whatever, it really does look like his stuff.
One of the giveaways at the moment with people and portraits, particularly, I think
the eyes.
The eyes. There's something very, very peculiar about the eyes. The eyelids, they all look like they've had something strange go on, like an eye operation or something's not quite right with the vision.
Look vaguely goat-like, I've noticed.
Yes, goat-like is a really good way of putting it, actually. That's a good way of putting it.
Is it Katia Vinge? Comedian, impressionist and comedian. I think that she's been pushing her own images in there and
all right.
and into putting other prompts, but it's always the eyes that look wacky.
It is. It's fascinating.
Yeah, Sandrine actually ordered some Flexo. Rezo printed. Gift wrap. That's nice.
Oh, where's from?
I don't know. Sandrine perhaps will share. Is it from Gabriella Marcello by any chance in Glasgow? Right, Flex. So hi, Kirsty, in the chat.
Hi, Kirsty. Yeah.
Yes. Got all the regulars in today. And by the way, we're just over halfway past.
Yeah. Okay. Gosh, honestly, Tony, where does the time go?
I know.
I'm sitting here drawing away. I mean, honestly, I could sit here and do this all day. I absolutely love sitting here. You know, it's almost like these are my comfort doodles.
Yeah.
Any time of year. It doesn't even have to be Christmas time. I'll sit and draw. I'll do one more bauble, and then we will get on with the process of turning it into paper. Let's see. I'll do one of these strange ones that's got the kind of the eyeballs in it, and I will do it this way.
So, by the way, just so you know, I've got a knowledge drop coming along for you shortly.
You've got a knowledge drop.
I've got a knowledge drop coming along for you shortly.
Bring it. Let's have it.
Well, no, I mean, I kind of want you to carry on the route you're going just at the moment, because I think it's still a valid way to work, right? Because I'm big into understanding how things work, because I think while it's not necessary to know how the combustion engine works, I think if you know how it should sound, it helps you with your driving. So if you're going along and the gearbox is screaming like crazy, chances are you're still in too low a gear. Right?
Yeah.
So I think information like that is really good, and also that you apply the brakes, gently. You don't just stamp on the brake pedals. They're all. So that's kind of understanding the mechanics of something.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same with patterns. And in fact, Liz Mosley, one of the other hosts on Adobe Live, who is an Express ambassador, she had a thing that went completely viral on TikTok, just based around analog methods for putting patterns together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I think by understanding how patterns are built, which
Yes.
is what you're going to make really, really easy with what you're doing here,
Yeah.
is a great way to develop. So this is still a good way to work, but there is another way.
Yes. I guess the reason I'm tackling it this way today is, I suppose, in the context of what we were just saying, really building in a safeguard against the sort of the telltale signs of mechanical reproduction or sort of digitized synthesis.
Yeah.
Obviously, this will be a repeat. All repeats have that element of it's the same thing over and over again in different ways. Um, so it will be interesting because I'm pretty sure, as you say, my busy schedule does not really afford me quite as much time playing with Photoshop as I would like. And I feel sure that today you will be able to furnish me with a new way to do this.
I'm pretty sure I've got a nice way to do this. Now, Jane is guessing
Yeah.
if the pattern making involves swapping and rotating each quarter. I don't think that's the way you're going to do it. I think it'll involve a journey to the filters commands for what you're going to do. That's my guess
Your guess.
on there. I could be wrong. Steve's saying he could watch you all day, Sarah.
Oh,
He says we could watch you all day, Sarah, which we could. I'm in agreement.
That's nice to know. That's nice to know, and it's lovely. It's lovely to hear that actually. So,
And Sandrine
yeah,
ordered some standard abstract ones from a shop called The Completist.
oh,
I think we're still talking.
Wait a moment while I write that down with my flashing Christmas pen.
Yes, and in your outstanding Christmas jacket.
It's just and it might be a bit too much. I don't know. Maybe I went for it too much. But...
I feel like I really went for the cheap seats with this headband.
Oh no, no. You do.
However,
you do you, Tony.
I've got a swapper. I've got a swap out, so I could always switch to these on.
So I'm giving these a slightly scruffy edge. I'm working quite quick. I would be taking my time a little bit more if this was sort of a finished piece, not a demo. But again, I used the circle to create the circle shape, but I still wanted to have that rough broken edge. So I'm adding that back in, kind of faking it, if you like.
Yep.
Although, is it fake? Is it fake? This was the whole.
This is tools.
It's tools, exactly. Tools is tools.
So a lot of people are quite, and this amazes me that people so you go to the National Gallery and you're walking around the National Gallery, people are going, how did they paint scenes like this? And you say, do you know what camera obscura is?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Camera obscura was a tool for that, so
people have used whatever means necessary for years and years. And if there is a quicker and better way, then a lot of the time that's what will get used. Right. So I'm going to stop drawing bubbles. I could sit here all day, but we don't have time for that. So I've built the colour up in layers, just to recap, so that we get that nice sort of bleed through and new colours happening. And what I'm going to do, always make a copy of these before I flatten them, just in case I ruin something. Command and E, put the layers together. So now we have final baubles.
Yep.
I'm going to move that into the center.
You don't use the claw shortcut.
The what?
The claw.
What's the claw?
The claw. It's the one that Shift Option Command E or Shift Alt Control E creates you a copy.
Yeah.
By doing that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
a copy of a layer.
Copy of visible layers. So you've got your background in there, so it would actually do the background as well, and you've got a folder there open. But otherwise, if you did that, Shift Option Command E, it gives you a merged copy.
I did not know. Oh no, I did press E.
No, but this is with Shift Option and Command as down as modifier, and the reason it's called the claw is because you've got to make that sort of hand when you hold all those keys down.
Yes, I can imagine actually.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing now is I'm very quickly reproducing these. I'm going to just flip them around a bit so they're not too regular.
Oh, well, Jane was right. I was wrong. There you go.
Regular. And I'm also going to, I'm not going to, am I going to do that? No, I'll do the colour later. Basically, all I'm trying to do is fill my space. What I might do, actually, obviously, here's some I made earlier. I'm going to get those out to speed up the process. Blob, blob, blob. Let's put those together and move those into position to, again, try and fill the space. They're not quite as elegantly finished, but they will be here to help us out. So that's another load of baubles in place.
Jane remembers, Sandrine was guessing filters offset. That was my guess initially. However, that guess has gone out of the window, I think, Sandrine. Just from here, Jane is saying, I remember trying to make a seamless pattern years ago before Photoshop.
Yeah.
And it involved quarter swapping and rotating, etc. It worked, but I most often lost track of where I was. Yeah. I used to use a thing called Artlandia. I don't even know if that still exists.
That's fancy. That sounds fancy.
It's expensive. It's really good. I'm pretty sure we still have a license for that in here. I'm going to check.
Put all these together. I'm just frantically sort of filling the space here. It doesn't matter at this point quite how beautifully everything is designed, because the magic comes in a bit. And whoever said we were swapping the corners around is dead right.
Yeah,
that's how we're going to do it.
Smarty pants, Jane. There you go.
Yeah. And this is the way I learned at school and found bewilderingly difficult at the time. Not so much now, because we have means at our disposal. Adding these lines, let's reproduce that one.
Looks so pretty.
Wait, it's a little bit clunky at the minute, but I'm going to.
No, I just mean the colours and the drawings themselves are lovely.
Colours a little bit there.
Yeah. Oliver says using camera obscura is cheating.
Is it now? Tell that to your ancestors.
There you go. Yeah. Oh dear.
So what I'm trying to do at the moment is just create a nice full area on this square.
Yep.
Change the colour of that, because of course that is one of the amazing things. Slider tool, boom, different coloured tinsel, just like that. Right, oops, crop. No, oh Lord.
Escape, yes.
Right, so we should have all of that on one piece. And normally there's loads of areas on this where I would begin to fill and just to get. Here's my drawing from yesterday. So to get, I would fill the page a lot more with. Yeah. I'd go to the edge and fill the whole thing with assets if I was doing this for real. Yeah. But now then, your colleague who said about cutting and pasting, this is why I have divided this into squares. So we're going to imagine that this top right is A, top left, as I look at it, top right is B, top left is C, and top right is D. Did I get that right? Don't think I did. And I'm going to use the guides to literally, as if I've got my scissors, chop.
Yeah.
And so copy, paste, and we have, let's call that B. Done. We'll leave what's underneath for now. And again, I'm imagining I've got a sheet of paper, zoom in a bit to make sure I've got it exactly dead on the line. Copy, paste. There is square D.
Nice.
Back to the original. And we'll take this corner as closely as possible on the line. Is that right? Move it a bit. Got to get it dead right. Again, I can't wait to be introduced to the magical system.
I'll wait until you've done this.
Yeah. So A, we've got sheet A there, and then that means that all we have left in this corner is And this is still how a lot of fabric designers do it now as well. They will chop their designs up. So in that corner, according to the guide, we should have layer C. I'm going to hide that. And to make it easier to see what's going on, I'm going to put a layer behind the slices and flip the colour, just so I can see what's going on and line it up. And I'm actually, at this point, I'm just going to use the nudge tool to make sure everything is where it should be. There's something to be said actually for having it slightly not quite right. If you're going for that true sort of mass printed in a Hallmark factory in the 50s look, it can be quite nice to have something a little bit deliberately off register. So we know now that that is pretty much as close as it's going to go to its neighbour before we then, right, so it has to match up first. I'm going to hide the guides. There's a slight gap there. Now there isn't. Okay, so there's no gaps there at all. We're using the purple so that we can see the gaps. And there's our slices, and put the guides back on. And now we take slice A, take slice B, and we put that in this corner.
There we go.
Yeah. And then we take C and put that in that top corner. Again, aligning it perfectly as near as we can to the top. Hope this works. And then the same with these two corners, put D up in A's position.
There you go. By the way, hilariously, and Tim noticed this on camera, I accidentally hit the gas lift lever on my chair.
Oh, didn't see it.
Myself.
Oh, I didn't see it.
It was fun.
I'll bet. Right. So okay. So I'm going to turn the purple off. Now, again, I'm going to make a copy in case that makes a bodge of something. I'm going to put those together, hide those. So that's our design. And what that, fingers crossed, if I've got everything in the right position, I may not have. Just a quick check. If everything is where it should be.
Sandrine learned the little bits using Inside Pattern Designs are called fillers. It's true.
Fillers, yeah.
Sean has spotted where I'm going to go with my knowledge drop in a second.
Ah, well, yes.
So he spotted that. Tim is remarking on my gas lift error just a moment ago.
Oh, I've done that loads of times. So.
Anna's saying it looks cute. She loves the colours.
Oh, good. I'm glad. So I'm now. Thank you for saying that. It's always very encouraging when you're busy doing these things. Got no one around you to sort of cheer you on, so it's good to hear that. So I'm increasing the canvas, and what that means is I've built a bigger sheet, and it should mean that I can take the design and reproduce it. And there is something, if it works, when it works, it's incredibly satisfying to take a copy and repeat it thus. Hooray! And then...
There we go. Oliver's saying you could use Command J to copy to a new layer, as well as instead of doing Command C, Command E. That would work.
Command J. Never used that.
Yeah, the jump shortcut. Did you not know that?
No.
Right. Here's a way to remember it, Sarah. Because we're in the UK, right? If you were in EastEnders, you wouldn't spell the word duplicate with a D. You'd spell it with a J. Right, so you just think, I want to duplicate this layer, so Command J to duplicate it.
every day is a school day. I come and do one of these. I always leave with some. It's the only reason I do it, really. I come away with fabulous knowledge. So there we go. In quite an analog way, we can see that the repeat is starting to form.
Yep.
And what I like to do here is most repeats, if you want an all-over pattern like that, that's fine. But most repeats have some sort of centralized key motif in the middle. So at this point, I like to put the guides back on and find the center. And at that point, I would clear a path, get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of that and these, probably move that out the way as well. Maybe move this guy, because the key thing is our edges will tile. What happens in the middle doesn't matter too much now because our edges are correct. But what it means is I can put in the middle a little sort of central feature of some kind, and create a space so that when the pattern is repeated, we've got like this lovely tile. I don't know what that's going to be. We could pretend that that is a Merry Christmas in the center. And here's where I attempt some live hand lettering, which really could go either way.
Yep.
Let me get a nice olive green for this. It's always the fear of doing something live. Okay, let's see let's increase the flow there. So we're pretending that the central motif is going to be Merry Christmas.
Nice.
A bit bit graffiti-esque. I'll shrink it in a minute.
Oh, it's lovely. So Adobe did have a textile technology preview. I think Adobe Textile Designer. I'm just having a quick look. Actually, it looks like now it's been handed off to the PDF print team, I think. But anyway, it's worth having a look. Oh yeah, in fact, it has been handed over to something else.
Oh.
But, maybe Tim could, if Tim knows, maybe Tim could pop a link in the chat if there is one still.
Yeah. So I apologise everyone for the crudeness of the lettering, but
it's really pretty. Why are you apologising? It's lovely. I love that C and H join, which on its own probably wouldn't work because it would look like a G.
No, it's not.
But in the context of that lettering, that's just gorgeous. That is a totally unexpected ligature that you created there. It's gorgeous.
Unexpected and ferociously complicated to read, but I do, as you know, do an awful lot of lettering commercially, and one of the things I'm constantly being asked is, can you please just make it more legible, or can you, I love doing a complex ligature, but I'm always being asked, can you make this more legible?
Do you know that school of thought about legibility in reading has been overturned somewhat in recent years?
Yeah.
And it's been shown in some forms of media it's actually better to make things slightly more difficult to read because you're more likely to remember it.
Interesting.
Because you're busy.
Work for it. Almost.
Yeah, you can't just scan it. You've actually got to decode it at a different pace. You're more likely to retain that information.
Interesting. So there we go. It should tile. I'm going to go, if the computer will handle it, I'm going to go with another 200% increase, and then I can once again.
But hold on one second. Right, go back to where you were and undo the canvas size thing. Right. Ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
Okay.
Go to the view menu.
Yes.
And come down to pattern preview. It's about halfway down.
Yeah.
Turn that on. It will give you this warning saying it works best with smart objects. Oh, right. Okay. Do
I need to switch that on quickly in my prefs? Oh no, because I'd have to restart, wouldn't I?
You'd have to restart, yeah. So just try it anyway. See what it does anyway.
It says it works.
That's fine. That's also fine. Hit OK from that.
Okay.
Let's just see if it generates it. Oh, That's
No.
unfortunate. It needs OpenGL. Go to your preferences. Let's just have a. I think you would actually have to restart Photoshop to do it. You'd need to go to technology previews.
You know what? I had to turn this off yesterday. I was getting the green screen.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. It can. Yeah. You'd. Actually, it's not going to be that. Don't worry about it too much just at the minute. But that's something you can explore separately.
So
Right.
what would
So
I expect to see then once I've hit pattern preview?
you'd actually get. So your whole drawing area would fill with the pattern.
Amazing.
The area that you specified as the document size becomes
Yeah.
your pattern tile. Okay, and you just draw naturally, or even add objects in and rotate them around, and play with different things, and then just make a pattern. And then you have the pattern panel. If you go to the window menu, you'll see there is actually a specific panel for patterns. So window patterns. There you go, just there. And that's also a place where you can actually start a new pattern. Can you see down at the bottom there is a plus? You can click plus and look at that. And that's it. You've got a pattern. It's ready to go. You can then just use that wherever you want to use it.
But I could, a bit like creating a brush, I could take any one of these baubles individually, or let's say a trio of the baubles, and make that a pattern, and then literally sort of as if I'm mechanically rubber stamping it, except that it's symmetrical.
Yeah. And it will create you everything. I mean, the limitations of it are it can't do at the current time. It can't do offset, so you can't do grid by row, grid by column, or brick offsets in the way that Illustrator can do them. By you can set a brick offset, for example, and then set it to 2/5, 3/5, and so on, to create that kind of irregular offset. But it's still really good if you want to create a standard tiling pattern that will just repeat in the way that you would print with the fabric, or a paper, as you've done here. You can do that dynamically and just draw with it and create your pattern, and then just apply it as you need be.
Well, that sounds perfect, because I'm planning on doing another range of wrapping paper next year. I enjoyed the first lot so much, and I sold out of it quite quickly. So I had people asking for it for a while. So I think it would be nice to do that again. But yes. So
Sandrine, sorry, has actually just given out a shout that Canvas preview should be turned off.
Was that on the preferences, on the settings?
I think
there, or
Photoshop preferences. Yes.
And where in technology previews? Was that where she saw it?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you could do that. Just do Canvas, search Canvas just there. Enable native canvas, or deactivate native canvas, sorry.
That's what I had to turn off to get rid of the green screen yesterday.
Try that now, see what happens. Nice shout, Sandrine. Who, by the way, is just window.
Patterns, Oh, where was you?
Oh, view pattern preview.
This is building new muscle memories here.
Yeah, just try that again. Just hit OK, that's fine. Hit OK again, that's fine. Yeah, it's still not having it.
You need someone who's not my Mac, bless it, is I think nearing the end of its service time here. Do you know about the green screen thing that people do? This whole sort of this whole working area just flashes like a green screen. That's what I had to do.
That's a GPU.
Sadly, but I can test that afterwards and have a play with it. It sounds great.
Yeah. No, I thought we might get away with it without restarting Photoshop, but when you restart it, those things will happen anyway. But
no one wants to sit there and watch me restart my Photoshop.
No, that's not what we're here for. Plus, we're also out of time. Can you believe it?
No, I can't believe it. It's like that.
We've got it's just incredible. So there you are. Thank you so much again. Hopefully it won't be too long before you're back. I so missed you at Halloween this year.
I know. I was dead busy anyway, but Did you
Yeah.
get some good Halloweeny stuff?
Yeah, we had Julia Seeger, my friend and one of the hosts
Yeah.
of Adobe Live in Germany. She drew a Wednesday Addams thing for us based on the new
Beautiful.
Netflix series, so which was kind of cute, and we were costumed, as one should be for that. So it was kind of fun.
I must be there for the next one, Tony, because
You
as you know,
must.
it is my season. So
Yes, it definitely is. Anyway, everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. I know already from the chat how much you've enjoyed it, Sarah. Honestly, I've really loved it. So thank you so much. Don't forget to come along tomorrow. And today, of course, I've forgotten to go and look at who's on tomorrow. Tut, tut, Tony. I'm going to get told off later on again. But anyway, come along, join us tomorrow at midday for another amazing session here at Adobe Live. But from me and Sarah right now, ta-ta. See you
thanks,
later.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.